You say you're fine. You smile at the right moment. You answer, I'm good. And change the subject. But at night it's different. The dark room exposes. The silence feels heavy. And your chest tightens. You learned early. Not to worry anyone. To handle it alone. To swallow the tears. So you repeat it. I'm fine. Until you believe it. Or almost do. But the smile gets tired. The mask feels tight. And something inside whispers. This isn't true. And what if the real exhaustion isn't from people, but from holding up a version of UT that doesn't exist? You're not lying to others. You're trying to survive. Saying you're fine became a shield. An emotional protection. An automatic mechanism. You do it without noticing. You do it not to worry anyone. You do it not to fall apart. Napoleon Hill called this autosuggestion. The mind believes what you repeat. Especially when emotion is involved. You say, I'm fine. Even with tightness in your chest. Even with a lump in your throat. Even with emptiness echoing inside. And something within records it. The subconscious doesn't argue. It simply accepts. It shapes your identity. Builds your internal narrative. And begins creating a character. The strong woman. The composed woman. The woman who needs no help. But there is a silent conflict. Between what you feel. And what you declare. Between the held back tears. And the offered smile. Between real exhaustion. And the image of balance. And your body notices. That's when anxiety comes. The unexplained fatigue. The sudden irritation. The restless sleep. The sense of emptiness. Nothing seems to make sense. Even when everything looks normal. Because there is inner division. You start feeling distant from yourself. As if you're performing. As if you're watching your own life. Replying to messages automatically. Laughing in conversations. Advising friends. While inside. Silence. You learned early that being strong was necessary. That crying was a burden. That feeling too much pushed people away. So you trained yourself. Trained your posture. Trained your voice. Trained your control. And forgot how to feel. Hill said repeated thoughts create destiny. But when repetition denies truth, it creates fragmentation. You live two versions. The one the world sees. And the one you avoid facing. And that is exhausting. More than rejection. You are not weak. You are divided. Part of you wants to sustain the image. Part of you wants to collapse. Part of you wants to keep going. Part of you wants to stop. And this silent tension is asking for truth. Because there comes a moment when repeating, I'm fine, doesn't convince even you. The echo feels hollow. The smile feels heavy. The body slows down. And the soul begins to whisper. How much longer? This didn't start now. Not in this last relationship. Not in the last disappointment. It's older. Deeper. Quieter. You just hadn't seen it. Until now. There is an invisible pattern. You give too much. You listen too much. You understand too much. You tolerate too much. You wait too long. And in the end, you're alone. You choose emotionally unavailable people. People who don't know how to stay. Who don't know how to go deep. who promise but don't sustain. And you try to compensate. You try to love for two. You try to understand what isn't yours. You try to save what was never your responsibility. But this isn't bad luck. Not coincidence. Not cruel destiny. It's repetition. Unconscious repetition. Emotional repetition. Learned repetition. Without you realizing. You learned love must be earned. That it must be deserved. That it must be maintained with effort. So you try harder. You adapt. You reshape yourself. You shrink. So you won't lose them. And every time someone leaves, you ask what you did wrong. You replay conversations. You relive gestures. You analyze silences. You search for flaws in yourself. Almost never in them. Because blaming yourself feels safer. There's a hidden belief there. If I'm enough, he stays. If I'm easy, he won't leave. If I don't complain, he won't pull away. If I endure, he'll see my worth. But while trying to be chosen, you abandon yourself. While trying to keep someone, you lose your center. While trying to prove value, you doubt your own. And that creates a cycle. The more you give, the less you receive. You say you're fine. But you keep accepting crumbs. Keep silencing your needs. Keep pretending it doesn't hurt. Keep believing you're strong. When you're actually exhausted. Exhausted from repeating. Exhausted from waiting. And this is where you realize. This isn't about him. It never was just about him. I tease about the story you told yourself. The identity you built. The fear driving you. And until that fear is confronted, the pattern continues. That if you see yourself in these words, don't ignore it. This channel isn't about videos, it's about awakening. It's a safe space for those tired of pretending strength and longing for truth, healing, and purpose. Click the button now and subscribe, because your transformation doesn't begin when someone comes back, it begins when you wake up. And you just did. At first you call it love. Then you call it a phase. Then you call it his issue. But deep down, it's a cycle. A silent cycle. That always ends the same. You alone again. You give yourself fully. Cancel plans. Adjust schedules. Soften opinions. Avoid conflict. Swallow discomfort. Do whatever it takes to keep someone. And in the process, you leave yourself behind. You postpone yourself. You silence yourself. Your needs grow smaller. Your boundaries blur. Your light dims. Almost unnoticed. The exhaustion starts subtly. An emotional fatigue. A quiet sadness. A hidden anxiety. You can't explain it. But you feel something's off. Even when everything looks stable. And that confuses you. The emptiness grows slowly. It's not lack of people. It's lack of you. You're there. But not whole. Available to everyone. Except yourself. And that hurts differently. You begin to believe. Maybe you're too much. Too intense. Too sensitive. Too demanding. So you try to be less. Less emotion. Less need. But the more you shrink, the more invisible you feel. The more you tolerate, the more distant you become. The more you endure, the more energy you lose. And loneliness stops being a circumstance. It becomes identity. You're not just alone. You feel unchosen, unseen, unprioritized. And that awakens old memories, old sensations, old fears you thought were healed. This is where it hurts, but becomes clear. Because you begin to see. It's not lack of love. It's self-abandonment. It's not rejection. It's internal disconnection. And that changes everything. And when you realize you were the one leaving yourself last, the silence feels different. It's no longer guilt. It's a war. Ennis. No longer desperation. It's a slow awakening. And irreversible, healing doesn't begin with another love. It begins with truth. Raw truth. Unfiltered truth. You need to pause. Take a deep breath. And ask yourself, where did I abandon myself? First step. Interrupt the automatic autosuggestion. When the impulse comes to say, I'm fine. Pause. Feel your body. Name the emotion. Sadness. Fear. Loneliness. Psychology calls this emotional awareness. Naming what you feel. Without judgment. Without immediate correction. Without trying to fix it. Just acknowledging. Because what is named begins to integrate. Second step. Set micro boundaries. You don't need to become someone else. You need to be honest. If something bothers you, say it. If something hurts, don't pretend it doesn't. Your boundary is sacred. At first it will feel strange. You'll feel fear. Fear of losing them. Fear of pushing them away. Fear of being too much. But notice this. Who only stays when you're silent was never truly staying. When you speak truth, two things happen. Either the other matures, or they leave. And in both cases, you win. Because you finally stop betraying yourself. Healing isn't hardening. It isn't closing off. It isn't pretending independence. It's staying open, but whole. Sensitive, but aware. Available, without disappearing. You start small. One honest conversation. One, that hurt me. One, I need this. One, no. Small for the world. Massive for you. And freeing. Because every time you choose truth, something reorganizes inside. Anxiety softens. Your body relaxes. Your voice steadies. You feel present. For the first time, whole. And this is where healing begins. Not when someone returns. But when you remain. Not when you are chosen. But when you choose yourself. Not when fear disappears. But when you act despite it. And that changes your destiny. Hey. If you got distracted, come back right now. Pay attention to this. Because this is the most important part. You thought you were alone in this. Thought it was your flaw. Thought you had to fix everything. But maybe this pain isn't punishment. Maybe it's an invitation. An invitation to truth. An invitation back to yourself. God doesn't enter your life shouting. He enters through silence. Through the dark room. Through the moment you admit, I'm not okay. That's when something shifts. Not outside. Inside. The loneliness you feel is not his absence. It's the absence of real connection. With yourself. With your essence. with your vulnerability. And God works in truth, never in the mask. Even in laughter the heart may ache. You've lived that. But now you understand. You don't have to pretend before Him. You don't have to hold a character. You don't have to perform strength. You can pour out. You can confess the exhaustion. Pour out your hearts before Him. That's promise, not demand. It's refuge. God doesn't draw near to your image. He draws near to your sincerity. And when you are honest, He stays. Maybe God didn't allow this loneliness to hurt you, but to awaken you, to show you that you deserve reciprocity, that you weren't born for crumbs. That love is not one-sided effort. That giving is not self-abandonment. And that peace is not forced silence. You asked for love. But God wants to give you awareness. You asked for someone. But He wants to return you to yourself. Because when you find yourself, you don't accept anything. You don't negotiate your dignity. You don't trade peace for attention. Faith here is not escape. Not romanticizing pain. It's inner alignment. Spiritual courage. It's saying, I won't betray myself anymore. And trusting that what is meant for you won't require you to disappear. When you pray in truth, your heart slows down. Anxiety softens. Not because everything changed outside, but because something aligned within. You feel presence. You feel direction. You feel peace not dependent on anyone. Maybe loneliness isn't rejection. Maybe it's redirection. Maybe God didn't take something from you. Maybe He removed you from something. And if that's true, this pain isn't the end. It's a course correction. It's redemption beginning. You began by saying you were fine. But you weren't. Now you know. And that changes everything. Because truth sets free. Even when it hurts. Even when it exposes. Even when it confronts. You understand the pattern. You understand autosuggestion. You understand the mask. You understand the fear of losing. But now you understand something greater. You didn't need to be chosen. You needed to choose yourself. You needed to return to yourself. Loneliness didn't magically disappear. But it changed form. It stopped being abandonment. It became space. Space for rebuilding. Space for real identity. Space to hear your own voice. Without outside noise. You no longer accept crumbs. Not because you hardened. But because you matured. You are still sensitive. Still deep. Still loving. But now with boundaries. Now with awareness. When someone doesn't stay, you don't shatter. You breathe. You feel. But you don't blame yourself. Because you know. What is true remains. What requires your disappearance was never love. You didn't lose love. You gained awareness. It wasn't rejection. It was redirection. It wasn't failure. It was alignment. And this inner shift is irreversible. God didn't need to take everything. He only needed to realign you. Not for more suffering, but for better love. Not to harden you, but to mature you. Not to leave you alone, but so you would never abandon yourself again. Now when you say, I'm fine, it's different. It's not a mask. Not defense. It's serenity. It's truth. It's presence. It's earned peace. You look back and understand the pain. Understand the emptiness. Understand the cycle. And you're grateful for the awakening. Because if it hadn't hurt, you would still be pretending. And now you are aware. Maybe you can't control who stays, but you can control who you become. And that is true freedom. You can change your destiny. You can break the pattern. You can love without losing yourself. You can trust without erasing yourself. You can be whole. And when you are whole, you don't need to convince anyone. You don't beg for presents. You don't negotiate worth. You simply are. And whoever is meant for you will recognize it. Without you shrinking. The room still gets dark sometimes. Silence still visits. But now it doesn't accuse. It embraces. Because you are no longer divided. You are aligned. And that is peace. You used to say you were fine. Maybe you were deceiving yourself. Todd, you know how to feel. How to speak. How to pray. How to remain. And that is redemption. If this message made sense to you, subscribe to our channel right now. Here you don't get cliches, you get awareness, applied faith, and real healing. Maybe God is using is space to awaken you emotionally. Don't ignore that call. Your new beginning can start today. If you made it to the end of this video, write in the comments, I choose truth. Let that be your marker of awareness. I believe that when you declare it, something spiritual begins aligning inside you. May God strengthen your courage and lead you to relationships that don't require your disappearance. Your new story begins with a decision.